Nice. Okay. Jot that down, Jess.
For something cheap and gay. Welcome to Omnibros Live Cheap and Gay Show. I'm Omnidog. Yes, we were having a very interesting discussion. Gay show. Oh.
Oh no.
I have to. Yes, we're okay. I haven't made that rookie mistake in years and years, where I didn't mute myself.
You were flustered by the discussion.
Yes, I was. Do you have any cheap and gay manga? I'm sort of in that mood. I'm like, how do you get in that mood? That's a thing? Like, there's so much I have to learn. You think just because I'm older than everybody else that I know everything, but hey, I don't. There's a lot I have to learn. And one thing I know, though, is, first of all, we have OmniCat in the group from Fangirlz. How's it going, Omni?
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here. And Wonder Maddie is having technical difficulties, but she'll be chiming in soon. Yeah. We have the Omnibus Collector himself, the man who started it all, Ryley Mo.
What's up?
What up?
I'm eating my fruit snacks because I had my dinner but not my dessert earlier.
Oh, right on, man. And Geek and Weekdom's Geo.
Happy to be here. My headphones are terrible, so I'm going to switch to these. So give me a second.
Everyone's having headphone problems.
Difficulties? That's yes, yeah. Okay. Okay, let's see. Here's Wonder Maddie. Let's see what she's up to. She's still trying to get the
It should all be fixed now.
Tell her she's live.
You're live.
I mean, I assumed I was live.
Yeah,
you are live.
I'm glad the background's different. Did Kristan tell you to change it?
Mm-hmm.
Because it was a lot.
I was like, hey,
I'm worried about you all. There are some backgrounds on here. I'm like, as a girl with ADHD,
100% agree.
It's a lot to look at. I've told Omar the same thing. I'll walk in and it's all these colors. I'm like, you've got to quit it. But this is relaxing.
The first one was like a million superheroes, and Jess was like, that is busy. And I was like, yeah, also there's a lot of groins. Like, there's just real close-ups because of where we were. And I was like, that's not appropriate. That's not appropriate. And then he changed it to something else that was really bad too. So I'm glad it's us, Maddie. We know what's up.
Yeah.
Sorry, Jess. It's us youngins getting on.
Cool,
I mean,
cool. She wasn't into the groinage background.
I wonder why.
No.
Could you imagine if you kept the topic as it is and that background?
Yeah,
how
it was not good.
Man.
I'll show everybody the.
Oh, you're gonna put up the groin?
I'll put up the groin.
It may work now because of where Geo is.
Unless there's a groin right in between.
Oh,
this
hopefully.
Is Taylor Brown and
even better.
Oh. No, because there's one right under Geo. Just heads up, Geo.
Isn't Adam showing a little Adam groin there?
Oh, okay.
Equal opportunity groin here.
Harley is kind of framed right in between Maddie and Geo, so that's decent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, this was too busy, even for me.
It's
mm-hmm.
And then we could have gone with Daredevil. But
look how relaxing this is.
There's our other Daredevil.
No.
Wow.
These are just mine for my other weird shows. Here's Crime Corner.
See, that's nice.
Hey, that works.
You want that one?
That was a little
really,
I jumped on the show and they had the girls on there and they went full SJW and then put crime scene stuff in there.
They tried to arrest everyone.
Damn it. Canceling everyone. Nah.
Okay. Now let's see. I do have to talk about, first of all, before we get going on our fabulous show, we need to talk about InStockTrades.com, where you can get your collected editions up to 50% off. Sometimes they have that. Loyalty discounts add 2% to that. I have heard rumors, but they're only rumors. An Omnibros Live discount code.
You just keep dangling that as if it's going to happen.
I know. Maddie's
It was my birthday, and I was just flush with gift certificates. I was like, damn it, where's that code?
I know. I'm sorry.
But I couldn't wait anymore. I had to order my books.
Yeah, I get it. I did the same thing. But there's rumors that we may be getting a code for Omnibroslive. They're just rumors right now. We are lucky enough to be getting a $50 gift card at the end of every month from InStockTrades.com to give away to a lucky viewer. If you live in the United States, you order $50 or more in books, you get free shipping, which is amazing. Fabulous customer service, fabulous packaging. That's InStockTrades.com. And Emily wanted me to read what I posted on the Omnibus Group's page yesterday.
Little public service announcement.
Right. She wanted me to read that to our viewers. And since I knew 24 hours in advance that I was going to have to do this, I, of course, didn't have it pulled up or ready or anything. So I'm not going to search for it. Okay, here it is. Okay. This is a communique from Lady Emily herself. Starting off, quote, this is from Emily from InStock Trades, and she says, everyone at InStock Trades would like to thank our customers for their continued patience during the recent months. As many of you know, Christmas time at InStock Trades is chaotic. It is normally a month and a half time period where we're doing record numbers in sales, and ever since the shutdown in March, it has been like Christmas here. Orders are pouring in every day, and we are hiring new staff members to try and get ahead of this, but we are not there yet. Also, IST has received a lot of inquiries about whether or not we have lowered our ordering numbers, which leads to new products selling out faster. It's actually the opposite of that. We have bumped up our ordering numbers, but still books are selling out on the day of release. We believe it has to do with more people being home, so they are able to place orders when the new books drop, and also our customer base has grown considerably since the beginning of the shutdown. Lastly, InStock Trades customer service is receiving hundreds of emails a day due to constantly changing release schedules, delayed orders, and then delayed packages. Please, 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 please be patient with us. Overall, we want to say a big thank you and let you know that we are not ignoring the problem. We are trying to get back to shipping orders in 48 hours and hope to be there soon. Emily. Part of the reason that I am the one that posts those on the Omnibus Collectors Community Comic Swap and Slap in the Face or whatever. What's the name of the group again?
I don't even know anymore.
Okay.
Trademark.
Yeah.
It is trademark. I do that because I know Emily is overwhelmed with emails from people. She sits down every Monday to 500 emails to start her Mondays off. So
Because you're the favorite, Jess.
I'm not going to deny that. I actually will accept that, but we as a group try to help her because we know that this is a weird time, and we know that it's good to help somebody out. And so if you ever wonder why I'm the conduit for her, I actually don't know how that happened. I think maybe I just said I'd do it, and she said, okay, here's a bunch of stuff. Post it for me, would you? And I go, okay.
I'm just glad they're doing so well that that's a problem that they have right now.
Right.
You know, like, I know it's really frustrating for a lot of people because it's taking so long, which is why we have a daily post of someone being like, how long does it take for IST to ship? I'm like, could you just read any other post in the past 5 days, please?
I literally, as Jess was talking, saw someone,
Yeah.
They like just posted one. Yep. I saw that too.
And mine, I ordered a bunch right at the beginning of the month on my birthday, and they just shipped today. But I don't care because I love Emily. Whatever they gotta do, I will support that company over anything. I don't care how long it takes.
I totally agree with you, and I think it's interesting that we're in the middle of one of the biggest crises in American history in the past 100 years, and people are losing jobs. The economy's not doing well, but IST is overwhelmed with people spending money on books. I mean, now, to me, that is very interesting. I'd like to, not tonight, but sometime, I'd like to dive deep into that and figure out the psychology of.
I know why.
Okay,
Yeah.
go for it.
It's all these people trying to escape from it, and so they're spending a lot of money on comic books. Our friend Steven, who was on the show earlier this month, every time I talk to him, he talks about how much debt he's in because he just, over the quarantine, bought so many books.
I think some of it's depression debt, and some of it
that's
is
where all my stuff's from.
Some of it is like people can't even travel, so they're taking that money where they'd be doing that, and they're like, okay, we'll just buy everything on the internet.
Mm-hmm.
Well, retail therapy is a real thing. I know that I get, I feel better. I get that short-term hit of whatever it is, dopamine, serotonin, whatever it is. I get that hit whenever I order something on the internet or whenever I go out and buy something. So I do get that. I understand what you're saying. I just think it's interesting that, I mean, we're seeing these hauls on the Omnibus Collectors Facebook page that are enormous. It's not like 3-book hauls. It's like 50-book hauls.
It's like 25 Omni hauls.
Yeah. It's unbelievable. So I think that they, I think it's interesting once things slow down, I think it'd be an interesting study for somebody to do to see the business decisions IST made, how they got so swamped with stuff and how they're coping with it. And they'll call it the Jess Bragg story since I helped them. We have a complaint already.
Oh, nice.
Oh, good.
Nice. All right.
Shut up, Jess. My asterisk has a dinged corner.
At least you got one, right?
By the way, it feels very awkward not to be in control of comments, because I always am, so it's very weird not to be. But Drew B asked who I was. I was like, Drew, I thought we knew each other.
Yeah, Drew watches us.
Is it because I put on makeup? I just got bored before the show.
Yeah, melatonin. Oh, Clarknado says it's melatonin that you get the hit from.
No, don't listen to him.
Yeah, don't do that.
Melatonin is what makes your skin.
No, it makes you sleepy. It's not melanoma.
Melanoma. Yeah, I did a bunch of melanoma during the quarantine. It was great. Okay, so we talked about IST and how great they are, and we do have a topic that we are going to be talking about, and there are some ground rules for everybody in the chat and for the panel. We're not trying.
I'm not going to do it.
Sorry.
I'm going to break them.
Deuces.
Okay, the girls say forget it. So, okay, here's what I'm going to attempt to do. We're not here to slander. We're not here to assassinate anybody's reputation. What we're going to try and do, this is about the comic book industry, and it really, the problems that exist in the comic book industry, primarily, not economic, but primarily from a perspective of women being taken advantage of by men in powerful positions. We don't have a lot of people that have been prosecuted for it, but we do have admissions of guilt with evidence that has been posted that is legit, that seems to have been vetted enough that the perpetrator himself may have even posted. So if we could, I'd like to, I mean, I don't want to just randomly say some guy's name and say, you know, this guy's been doing this and this and this. I'd rather see if we can talk about the issues of really strongly backed accusations that have maybe multiple women, maybe not, but primarily where the guy says I'm sorry, or the guy says this is what happened, where we get it, and we're not a court, we're not putting on anybody on trial here, we're not going to talk about any of the amendments in the Constitution, we're a comic book channel. So I think what we'd like to do is educate ourselves and the audience on what's happening, with examples of who's doing it to whom, and what we can do about it as consumers. And in Maddie's case, as a cosplayer, so, I mean, I'll be totally honest with you. 2 weeks ago, I didn't know what grooming was. It was in the admin chat. I don't even know if Kristan was an admin yet. Were you when the grooming thing happened?
Oh no, I wasn't.
I think she was brought on after.
After? Yeah, I think
she was brought in on Warren Ellis Day.
Okay.
That might have been the day. Or it was. I know that you and Adonis were
Warren
brought
Ellis
in.
Day.
Right.
Yeah.
It was on a day that something happened, and we were like, "Woo! Welcome to your first day."
Yeah. And I didn't know what grooming was. As I said, there was allegations first thing in the morning, like 7 a.m. Somebody's grooming, and it said all this information, and I just said, what's grooming? Is that somebody, mentoring somebody to be like an intern? And Alex said, "Oh, sweet Jess."
Well, I think a lot of people didn't know.
Sorry?
I think a lot of people didn't know.
Okay.
And also just like, if you're just in the groups, you don't always know unless you're on like the rest of social media.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
if I wasn't on Twitter. Also, is my mic low?
No, you're fine.
Yeah.
Okay.
We can hear you perfectly. I'm not on Twitter, so that's a choice I make. I'm on Instagram and Facebook, and that's a
great choice.
Thank you. I understand why people want to be on Twitter. That's fine, but it's not for me. So I don't hear a lot of these things. I get them from the group, fully formed. Like somebody will send me a DM and say, "Here's the latest allegation," and I'll just look at it and go, "Whoa, where did you find this?" And they're like, "Oh, Twitter." So I didn't even know what grooming was, and it really became a major, how do I want to say it? It became front of my mind when Taylor Brown and I interviewed Cy Spurrier. And Cy is, I call him Cy. That's right. I'm close enough to him. I call him Cy. Thank you. He's one of my favorite writers. And Taylor said, "What do you think of the state of the industry now?" This is about halfway into the interview. And we actually meant like all the pencils down and the economics of everything and diamond closing. He took it a completely different direction and started talking about all the abuse cases, the sexual abuse cases, the allegations, the admissions, and we just went from there. And that's when I realized that this was a lot bigger than I thought. I mean, that's what he thought we were talking about. And then he asked our opinions, which nobody ever does. Who cares about my opinion? Well, some people in the chat might, but they want to know, is Ultimate Spider-Man 3 any good? They're not asking me about sexual abuse. And he asked us our opinion, and Taylor and I were like, and it just became a much bigger thing in my life now, where it wasn't before. And so I'm pretty sensitive to it now, whereas I wasn't before. And so I think the idea of this discussion is who's doing it, what should happen to them, what can we do about it, and what do you do when your favorite writer turns out to be a scumbag? And scumbags being nice. What do you do when Warren Ellis, my favorite writer of all time, is like sending inappropriate pictures to women, and some other writer is sending is grooming these underage girls, promising them he will get them in the industry, and he's just trying to have sex with them. Now, I'm not trying to be so naive that I don't think men aren't scum. I am a man. I am fully aware of what I'm capable of. So I'm not trying to be naive here. But what do you want to tackle first? The allegations, the people, what we can do about it? What do you say, panel? What should we talk about first? What's anybody feel like talking about first? And this isn't about a writer or artist political beliefs. That is not.
That's another show.
Yeah, that's a different show. Yeah. I don't care about that stuff. This is real life stuff that traumatizes.
I care about that stuff, but we can do another episode.
Okay, well, I'll do a show with you, and we'll rip them.
No, they'll dox me. I'm not interested.
So
that's true.
Jess and Gio know earlier I mentioned in one of our chats that I was watching, kind of in prep for this, videos that Kelly Sue DeConnick had put on her Instagram. And I don't know if y'all have seen that. I didn't even know until today. I was just browsing Instagram, and it was like a month ago. And she has a relationship with Ellis herself. And so I was very interested in seeing what she had to say because of that. And she hasn't said anything since 2 videos that totaled about 30 minutes worth of her talking, but her talking was very stream of conscious. So there's a lot of hemming and hawing. So it's probably about 15, 20 minutes of actual thought coming through, because she's obviously very stricken with grief and confusion about the whole situation. And it made me feel less upset with myself for not being able to make a decision on how I want to step forward. About, just like Jess said, one of my favorite writers all of a sudden being accused of all this stuff, and not just accused, but all these things proven that he's done. And it just, if you watch what she said in her, she has first video is about 20 minutes, second video is about 10 minutes. The second video, she comes in and she says, I wasn't talking about myself in the previous one, but I'm going to talk about myself for a second here. And she's able to get out through, like, obviously holding back emotions, real quick, that Warren Ellis was a person that she would always confide in every time that there was an issue. And so she kind of chokes on the fact that she feels like she's lost a really good friend. And she doesn't really know, because she says people are telling her, we're throwing out his books, we don't like his stuff anymore. And she's like, I can't just turn around and say I'm done with Warren because of their relationship and because of how she views him as a professional. But she's like, I also can't just ignore everything that everyone has done, because she's not, she's not saying she doesn't believe anyone. She's trying to help those people too. She just didn't have that same experience. And she's saying, I don't want to talk about my experience because my experience doesn't add to, or I don't want it to take away from the other people. So it was something that, point being, it was something I wanted to listen to, and I don't know if I got everything I wanted to out of it, but I was interested in hearing her take on this, and the take in general from someone in the industry, regardless of who they are, who has a specific relationship with someone, professionally and otherwise, and how they feel about that, and just how hard it was for her to really even decide what she wants to do as she moves forward. I don't know, it just made me feel more human about it, I guess, that I'm not a computer that can make an on and off decision.
which I get.
Yeah.
Because it is hard when you're close to somebody and you've learned that they are facing these allegations and you haven't seen that side of them.
Mm-hmm.
Despite, what, we're up to at least 60 women who have come forward against him. I will say also that if there are situations where people like this, abusers and harassers, will very much treat somebody else completely different and be so kind and wonderful and not show that part to them. And there's a lot of reasons for that. But it also makes it a lot harder for victims to be believed. And, I'm not going to ever lay all of my cards on the table, but I've been there, like harassed or like manipulated by someone who's very, very kind to everyone else who wouldn't know. And unless you know me and know that I'm genuine, you would never know. And you would probably be like, oh, well, that person's great. He would never. You know?
And that happens all the time with abusers because they abuse and that's how they are. They can put on that mask and be nice to people. Be nice to people at cons. That's another thing that's come out, right? With a lot of these people. They're like, oh, well, I met these people and they're really nice to me. It couldn't have happened. Yeah, and it's like, that doesn't mean anything. This actually makes me think of the Louis C.K. situation.
Oh, and I loved him.
And everything that happened with him. Like, everybody thought he was a nice, funny guy. And in specifically this exact scenario that you were talking about with Kelly makes me think of Tig Notaro and her relationship with Louis C.K. Tig Notaro, she's one of my favorite comedians. Louis helped her in her career a whole lot. And he was always really a great mentor to her. And she found this out and she was just shocked in every way. Could not believe it, but did. Because... of course it was happening, right? And she severed that relationship.
Oh, she did.
And I'm sure that was incredibly hard for her.
Yeah.
The highlighter, I don't believe that's what she meant. But I don't think she felt slighted that he didn't groom her.
I think highlighter.
I think it's just he can't. It's hard for her to come to terms with. Because she didn't have that experience. I don't think she would want that to happen to her. I know you probably didn't mean it that way, but just to clarify.
What was the comment?
The highlighter asked, so does Kelly Sue feel slighted that Warren Ellis didn't groom her?
No. I would recommend looking at what she said on Instagram, but no, she's just commenting her relationship with him didn't go in that way. But just because that didn't happen to her does not mean that she does not believe every single person that has said something.
Mm-hmm.
It just made it really hard for her to cope with it. Because she hadn't seen it directly.
Also, no one wants to be groomed.
No.
And it's, there's a lot of things like, I'm a lot less quiet today because I've talked this to death because I'm tired and hurt. But, a lot of comments that we got, because Omar and I did a video. We did a Q&A and we talked about it. And some people in the comments were like, and some people in the group as well. They're like, well, how do they just let themselves be this way? Or like, why did they say something? And it's not that easy, especially in professional capacity, especially in an industry that doesn't have avenues through which you can report things, and especially when it's not clear. And I don't think people always understand as well what happens in those situations when there's that age difference, when there's professional difference, where there's that power dynamic. And it's not always obvious until it's a little too late sometimes. And also, it's not always easy to be like, if I'm dramatic every time someone's like that to me, I get labeled away. Right? I don't progress professionally. I'm seen as problematic. So it's always having to choose my battles. And I've had to deal with that stuff professionally at work. I can't even imagine what it's like at their level, where they feel like they have to network at conventions, at parties, because they've been told that's how they get through to meet people.
Yeah.
That was a point that Kelly Sue brought up. She said about exactly what you said. There's not an HR department that they can go to report this stuff. And she mentioned that might be something that, in order to try and start to repair the situation, I don't want to say fix, but to start repairing the situation, that they should assemble something that can be like an HR division for these things, but also about, like you said, that they have to network. That's how you make it, is by knowing someone and getting your foot in the door that way, which is very different from any other profession. So when that's what, like you said, you're told that that's how you make it, then you're going to I feel like it creates this sense in people that like, oh, well, I guess if that's what I have to do, that's what I have to do.
Mm-hmm. Well, and there's staff members at DC at Dark Horse, admittedly, that were aware of the situations, right?
Mm-hmm.
With like Scott Alley
Mm-hmm.
and Lobdell, staff members who
Mm-hmm.
knew and literally had to warn the other women, hey, don't go near him or don't sit near him, or hey, we have an office policy that women are not allowed to be in Scott Alley's room with him. He's not allowed to go to conventions. People knew this. For years they knew this.
Who's that
Dark
guy?
Horse literally put out an email to their team like, hey, don't, like, when the allegations came out, like, don't say anything. He's family. You're not allowed to talk about it. And if, Magnolia didn't tweet about it, it would have nothing would have happened. And so I get, people are like, well, why does this come out now? Or why can't we have second chances? And I'm all for people having chances to grow. I'm not saying that they should be canceled and never come back. That's never even worked. Lobdell's already had an allegation before. He's still around. Right. But they've had chances. People have told them before this. There's a reason why people wait and do it on Twitter, because they don't have any other option. Like, and Warren Ellis put out his apology. And if you look at that SoManyOfUs.com, he continued to do that after that apology. He continued to act that way.
He continued his behavior.
Mm-hmm. So, Mr. I was unaware of how I was not aware of how I coerce people. That's not true. There's over 60 women, and if you continue to do it, like,
right.
Worse.
What? Who's that guy that Lewis McGregor's always talking about at DC?
Braganza?
Yeah,
Eddie Braganza.
That he, I don't know what he did, but DC continued to let him work there for like a number of years after multiple things happened to him. Are you guys familiar with that one at all?
Mm-mm.
Okay, well then I can't speak to it, but I know that that's one that Lewis always brings up, saying that comic book publishers are complicit in this as well.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, giving these guys a place to hide.
Well, that's been happening with companies for ages.
Yeah.
We just happen to be in a time where more people are talking and saying it's not okay.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And I think people can, like, I think a lot of people get mad at me when I talk about it. Only because they're like, okay, well, they're canceled forever. And that's not really how that works. And a lot of people don't change their behavior until actual real consequences happen. Right? But people can come back from that. People can have heartfelt apologies and be better. Like Dan Harmon. This is not comic book related, but he does do comic book things. He does Rick and Morty, Community, Harmon Quest. Mm-hmm. There were things about him, and he genuinely was apologetic and sorrowful, and he has improved. Louis C.K. has not. There's a reason why.
You'll have a track record after.
Yeah.
That will show everyone how you really are.
What you just said, is that where we're getting? See, I literally only leave the house to go to the doctor and the pharmacy right now. I don't read the newspaper and I don't read Twitter because I can't take it. So I'm going to be asking questions. I'm not trying to be funny. I genuinely don't know.
No, it's fine.
I don't know some of this stuff, but I mean, I'm taking the pandemic. My wife and I are taking the pandemic extremely seriously. So I'm not leaving at all. But cancel culture, is that where somebody does something that's not PC and their careers get canceled?
Yeah, but it's used so loosely now and for everything. I don't think people are very aware, even people that really use that word, of what it actually is. And even if it's effective. Because you can't name that many people that have been canceled that aren't still working in some capacity.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. There's a lot of
no one's really canceled. I know, yes, it does affect you, but people are still working.
Yeah. There's a lot of annoying buzz phrases to society now because of the internet, I think. Like this cancel culture thing and SJWs and Snowflake and everything else. And a lot of it is just not willing to have a discussion and trying to bully your opposite party without any consequence happening. I feel like these phrases are like throwaways that people just get to toss into sentences, and then they think they can just wipe their hands and walk away, and they've made their point when they haven't contributed anything. They're not interested in a dialogue, and it just seems that we can't. Like I said, we weren't interested in hurting anybody's reputation. We're not interested in that. But there are hundreds, if not thousands, of these women out there who have had these experiences, and they're just now being listened to. So if you're asking why are they now just coming forward, I think it's more that we're just now actually listening to them.
Yeah, Reed said that in the comments too. A lot of reasons because people are believing them now. They have something to stand on. Elliot has a good comment too, because I did bring up HR. People said that some industries do have HR departments, but HR is there to protect the company, not the employee, which also makes it difficult as well.
Yeah,
That is true.
they're very unhelpful.
I have a tweet I do want to read out to you guys. I don't know if this is a creator, but I saw it. I screen capped it just to have it around when needed. But this Twitter account said, "So why is the Warren Ellis thing such a big damn deal? Let me put it in perspective for you. Are there any feminine or non-binary creators whose work you admire, whose work means a lot to you? If so, imagine that they were preyed upon by an asshole like Ellis or some other guy. Imagine them giving up." And I think that's what that perfectly encapsulated what I thought about with this, because, we know there's women whose names who are creators that we know this has happened to. Now think of all the women that were trying to get started in the industry that didn't get any farther because of a traumatic experience like that. I'm very impressed with those who were able to continue.
Yeah.
And people are aware of it. Gail even said, she's had to deal with these kind of people forever. And she would get in trouble when she, spoke up about these things. And all these guys being accused were calling her up right when everything was blowing up. It was like, hey, you believe me, right? You were cool, right? We're going to work on books, right? And she's like, no. No, dog. Not gonna happen.
Yeah, and I think the majority of women in general, no matter where you work or what company you're at, have been in a room full of guys, and they've said some kind of inappropriate joke or made some comment that was really not okay, and we just had to shut up and laugh because we knew if we would have brought that to a boss, maybe the boss was in there. I can't tell you how many stories I've heard. I've been in situations too where that happens all the time.
You're
so
being
now,
dramatic, or
yeah.
So a male colleague can comment on my body to me at work. No.
Yeah.
No.
So thankfully, we're finally in a place where people are speaking out, and some people are listening.
Well, I feel like more and more people. I mean, I'm one of the people that are listening, and I've already made the leap to I believe it, I understand it, I believe it. Now what do I do? What's my role in either making it a better place, the world a better place? I can't. I mean, I'm not involved in the comics industry.
You support it.
I support it with my money.
Consumers run the comics industry.
Okay.
Right? If we didn't buy books, it wouldn't exist.
Right. So what about the books I already own?
Well, you already bought them. You bought them before you knew anything, right?
Yeah.
Now, if you feel weird about them being on your shelf, that's your call.
Yeah.
I think that's a personal choice there. But your future money has all the power.
It's weird that I'm struggling with this because I have no problem not going to a Roman Polanski or Woody Allen movie. I haven't been to either of those guys' flicks in 40 years, or however long they've been the pedophile monsters they are. I guess movies don't mean as much to me as comic books do because I'm having a harder time I don't know. I don't even, some of these guys, I don't even want to read the stuff that I own now, that I've already bought, but I can't donate it to a library.
I think the problem is that the comic book industry, it's an industry that is based on certain ideals that we want to believe, and yet we find out about these things, and there's this clash of ideology happening. And I don't have much experience in in the topic at hand, because I am a non-confrontational person. If you know me in person and there's a fight breaking out, I'll be the first one to leave, or an argument. I don't like that stuff, and I get very anxious, and I don't like it. But with this stuff, I can tell you that it reminds me of working in media, where you put a facade, which is part of your work ethic. And when, for example, I work in radio, and there's a certain way I behave and I talk, but that's not how I'm truly feeling. So when people find out, and I'm not saying I'm deviant or a monster or anything, but people find out that I'm not 100% wholesome and cheerful or whatever it may be, it comes as a shock to people. So I compare that to what we're talking, in that people, especially the haters, they're resentful because they don't know how to react to something like this, because for many years we've been preaching about how positive and the message that comic books as a whole and the industry can provide for people, and speaking for the minorities and speaking of true values and all that stuff. And when scummy people like this appear, it can be a shock. So for me, I'm processing all of this, and it sucks that I haven't been more active about it. But I think maybe that's why, or at least that's why I see the comparison between a movie where you already know about how dirty and scummy Hollywood can be, compared to the comic book industry, where they're preaching about certain things and they're not doing said things. I don't know if you guys follow what I'm rambling on about.
Yeah, sorry, I was looking at the comments at the same time.
Yeah, here's the most important comment from Noir Wolf. Glad to see this is back. Thank you, dude.
So I do want us to continue to let the train of thought we're on, but I want to go ahead and address a few questions in the chat before we do that.
Okay.
Inman 40,
what time?
8:44. Asking about, and he's been great because we've talked to him a lot about this thing.
This one?
Yeah. And that's a good question, which is why I feel very different about books than movies. But yeah, like it's not an easy answer, right? Like because there's other people involved with books, which is why personally I show a lot more leniency towards books that have already been released, right? To me, I can only speak for myself. I'm not trying to tell everybody else how to like spend their money and do their stuff.
Right.
People don't hear that when I say this. But let me just say it again, because I got some heat. And I was like, man, just tell me. No, you make your own fucking choice. I'm just telling you what I'm doing. But to me, what's going to affect it is new work going forward. I have no intention to support future books of those people unless I see a significant change. Mm-hmm. Now, if there are books coming out by them, whatever they want to do, I'm more than happy to find ways to support the people that they're working with on other projects that don't involve that person, and be very vocal about that. And that's how I plan to move forward.
Okay.
I don't want to say that these people can't improve. Even the women who wrote about Warren Ellis were like, hey, this guy's a scumbag. But we don't want to keep him from working forever. We just want him to recognize what he's done and get better. I would love for all of them to get better, but I won't support them until they do. Personally.
What were you saying, Chris?
I was going to say, I actually feel differently, because these people still make money from these reprints and books that are out. So I personally, again, you can do whatever you want to do. I can't support that. I can't keep buying their books. They're still getting money. I don't want to put my money there. That's me. And as far as
I will
other
add,
people,
I'm not buying their old books, but I understand. I love Red Hood and the Outlaws a lot, but I'm not buying those books.
that's fair.
Sorry, continue.
But as far as other people in the book, it's just like Maddie said, which is what I've said before, and I still believe. Yes, there may be a letterer that maybe you really like, or an artist on that book that didn't do anything, and they won't get that money from that book. That's fine. If you love that artist so much, go get their other books.
Yeah.
Support them that
Buy
way.
their prints.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think you both hit on an important point, is we're trying to understand it. We're not turning into lecture bunnies here. We're not trying to tell you guys out there what to do. We're trying to figure it out for ourselves. Mm-hmm. And you guys need to make your own decisions and stick with them and be happy enough with them that you're okay with your going on with your life, that you either buy it or you don't buy it, whatever system you've worked out. But yeah, I'll speak just for myself. I'm still trying to figure this out, and I would never tell somebody, you can't buy this, you can't buy that. I know Reed's already jammed me up because I pour root beer on book. And Reed, let me find Hardcore Anxiety. I have cranberry juice. No, and I actually don't do that anymore. So it was a shtick my first couple of years, but I don't do that anymore. So, but none of us want to be telling anybody how to live their life. We're just trying to figure it out for ourselves. And you can tell by what Maddie and Kristan said, they've come to a decision that makes them comfortable enough to keep going.
So I have a question for you guys. Because I want to make sure it's not a situation where we're talking about it and I don't really genuinely hear from the rest of you guys of where you are going forward with this. Because me as a content consumer, not just a creator, I feel like, and all I do from my friends on Facebook, so you've seen me post about stuff, but I know for me, it hurts to see a content creator, a comic reviewer, talk about a book or recommend a book or name drop someone like Warren, right, and not even mention anything else going on, because it comes across as, without meaning to, and I understand, but it comes across as a blatant approval of this person, because I feel like, it's like if you were in a room with somebody who was your abuser or something. Obviously that's not the same thing, but that's how it can feel for victims to see it this person just supports this guy who did this and is just parading this book around but not even mentioning the things that he's done. So I tend to come from that perspective, and that's probably because I feel sensitive to it. So it can be hard for me. Have you guys thought about going? It is a very subjective view, everyone. I know this is where I'm coming from, and I don't say it's the right thing. I'm just saying to the chat so you all know. I'm not coming up here to preach at you guys, but going forward, how do you guys think this is going to affect your reviews or your top books?
I have a video that I'm working on right now, and I'm mentioning, it's a Punisher video, and I mention Nathan Edmondson's run in there, and that I enjoyed that run. I enjoyed that run when it came out, but I have to decide, because I'm going to mention something about him,
what's he
specifically done? About stuff that, what was the allegations? I feel like it was very bigoted things that he had done or said. Nathan Edmondson. I don't even remember 100%. Nathan Edmondson he wrote Punisher and Black Widow at the same time at Marvel.
Oh, that sucks. I didn't know this. Okay.
But he wasn't a sexual predator. His were more.
I don't.
Now we're drawing lines.
Now I feel dumb for
bigots and sexual predators.
Here's where it's very humble, right? Because I don't always know. None of us are experts.
Yeah, we all don't know everything.
Yeah.
That's the big thing, like Maddie was saying, though. I feel like if you're doing a review or something and you know something, like Ryley's saying, he's planning to say something because then he can inform his audience who maybe didn't know.
Right.
Yeah, it'd be like
my
about Lovecraft.
statement.
Lovecraft was a racist, but I still want to talk critically about his content.
My comment on it is basically to make sure that like you said, I'm not glossing over it. And if I decide, not just in this video, but if I do a later video and I decide to talk about work by Warren Ellis, which at this moment I don't have any plans to, but if it happens in the future, then I would plan on mentioning in the same breath that I say his name what has happened, so that any audience knows, like you said, that I'm not trying to brush it under the rug, and that any audience who doesn't know is now aware, and not that I'm going to spend several minutes of time on that video to talk about it, but that they can go and learn for themselves, so they can then make their own, like Jess is saying, like everyone's saying, their educated opinion on what they want to do in this situation.
That's interesting from the Mutant Menace.
I realized I've got 2 manga guys in here. I could bring up Rurouni Kenshin. I didn't realize that. That's a very similar situation.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's
from
Mutant Menace.
Yeah, it's nice to say. I have a policy on Brian Wood.
Oh yeah.
I don't, and I think it's gonna.
Man, I wanted to read that book. Fuck him for doing shit. How dare you make a book that I want to read?
And I don't want it to give it good press. It's really good, unfortunately.
Which book?
Sword Daughter.
But
I have it turns out I have so much Brian Wood stuff. I mean, I have a ton of it. I'm just not going to review it. I can't review it. I don't know how I could. I'm just not going to review his stuff anymore. It's not. I don't think it's my place to review it and then say what the allegations are. That's too much of a burden on me as a person to try and.
Oh yeah.
Sorry?
I think yeah, and I agree. It's a lot.
Yeah, I just am not going to give him the oxygen on my channel.
Sorry.
Where's them?
I have a bad habit of interrupting, so I'm
That's
really
fine.
sorry.
Go ahead and do it. I don't care.
NMan40 just had another good point. Always bringing it out, NMan40.
My
I
uncle?
appreciate it. Yeah, talking about does he have to? I'm not expecting like regular readers to know everything. I feel a responsibility as someone who like speaks on YouTube. Not that I have some big platform, not trying to be anything that I'm not, but I think it's good to be aware when possible. But I'm not expecting everybody to read everything all the time and just know. Like, I would never go after somebody that said, like, oh, hey, I really like this book. Maybe they said by Warren Ellis. They don't know. I'm only going to be upset if you knew, personally.
Yeah, that changes everything.
Yeah,
right,
if I'm like, knowledge. Oh, I've definitely talked to you. Then I'm like, oh, man, really? Then just to support it. But a regular Joe, I mean, you're not going to know everything. Right?
I think for myself, I'll say I have the resources that if I haven't heard, I should probably take a few minutes and maybe research it. This is for me only. That I would probably research it just in case this guy did catch a hashtag at some point, and a bunch of that. You know, I don't need that, but you can't. Yeah, I mean, I could. I've got Warren Ellis videos that I've already got. I've probably got 3 or 4 Warren Ellis videos because I liked his stuff. What do I do with those? I'm promoting his work. Do I take those down? I just now thought of it, so it's a rhetorical question. I just now thought of that. I don't know what to do about those. I know, you know.
I mean, I've got Redhead and the Outlaws by Alabdil framed on my wall because I'm a big Arsenal fan.
Right.
I love that fucking book. I know it's not good. I don't care. I love it, and it meant a lot to me, you know. And there's some other people that work on that book that I've found some problematic things out afterwards too, and I'm like, oh man, really? Another one? Can you guys stop? But and it's a hard question. There's not a lot of easy answers about it.
Yeah.
All I can ask is people be aware and hold people accountable. Like I gotten a comment on the last video that was like, oh god, what was it? Something about like, why do you hold them to these crazy moral standards? And I was like, I don't. I just don't want you to be sexist or racist or homophobic. It's not bad. It's not
Common
much.
decency.
I don't ask for much. Just don't be a creep. You know what I mean? Like that's it.
That's the problem, is that to a lot of people out there, that's not just the standard decency. That's you are asking for a ton. And I'm saying that like tongue in cheek. But like a ton of people feel like that's too much to ask for.
Which is crazy. It's like, I'll read tons of books by douchebags. I don't care if you're a douchebag, right? Oh, yeah. There's tons of creators out there who are probably douchebags.
Yeah.
We're just, general, douchebags.
Nash Villains was like, I live in the South. Common decency is a lot to ask. We are very close. In location, Nash Villains. So yeah, right.
It's true.
Smotlock.
So real quick, I did.
Go ahead.
Did look up Edmondson.
We'll come back to it.
Okay.
I just have a real quick aside. I looked up Edmondson. It was sexual allegations. So he's part of all the thing. But I think I lumped in something else. He might have been involved with just having kind of opinions that I don't exactly, or none of us would agree with on stuff. But I enjoyed his work, and so I feel in talking about him and his work on a video that I have to mention that. So just to say that I looked into it.
I don't know that I feel like giving oxygen to Smotlock right now. That question. That's a dumb question. Or a false equivalency, as somebody said.
I'll just say, because I appreciated his comments on other things. So, but I even though I'm talking about women right now, because that's who's been come out as victims, I am very much supporting not just this because of women, but also for other people, because these things do happen to men. I'm never going to say that it does not happen, and by giving support to these victims right now, it could lead to also future support, right? Of men or non-binary people who find themselves subjugated to this. And because you empower these people, you're also empowering people who are harassed in different ways, maybe not sexually, but racially, which does happen in the comic industry, right? It's not new. And I want everyone to be able to have that equity. But that's all I'll say about it. Oh man, somebody mentioned Henry Cavill. Did you know he dated like a teenager in his 30s? I learned about that today.
Gross.
Oh,
yeah. It's like, quit it. I love The Witcher. Stop being a creepo, please.
Okay, so we each have our own decisions to make. We each have our own research to do. It's a lot more complicated than when I was a kid, paying 12 cents for a comic book.
Well, we didn't have the internet to tell you that this was happening. It's the thing.
Right.
Yeah.
But there weren't cons back then either. But I'm not saying this is a new problem. This has been a problem for centuries, obviously.
Yeah, because you can just think about that Vampirella cosplay that was a teenager, all the shit that happened to her back in the day.
Do I have a Vampirella book showing? How did you know to say Vampirella? Or do you know me?
We're both Dynamite fans, unfortunately.
I
really don't want to be one anymore, but...
Yeah, we can actually talk about...
that's a whole nother... And again, I won't talk about that because I'm not trying to get doxxed. So...
okay.
We've already seen some in the chat.
Okay.
Sorry, I dissociated for a second. My medicine wears off by now, so the ADHD is very hard to keep up with 4 other people in this video, in the chat.
I commend you for looking at the comments, because I can't. I never look at YouTube comments while we're doing the show.
Oh, really?
Because I get distracted, and I just wind up either bringing stuff up in the show, or more often because I'm discussing stuff, I go in there and just start typing away.
Well,
So
I like being able
you're
to
better
talk
than I am.
to them too, because other people I've disagreed with, but we've come to a nice, like, either because I'm not the epitome of knowing about anything or morality either, but I always know that I've enjoyed the conversations that I do have. Some people are wilding out. It's like in the group.
Yeah.
There's always gonna be people that are just like, okay, nah, you guys are wrong. But I really appreciate having the conversations. Although somebody will comment later once this video's done and be like, it's just some dumb bitches starting some shit. I'm like,
No.
really? 60 dumb bitches? You thought they all got together?
I want to believe that our audience is smarter than that.
Well, just given the topic we're talking about, we're probably going to get some not typical audience who are going to look and comment.
I'm used to
Yeah,
it.
but I mean, but as long as they're watching and they're open to the idea of change and what we're talking about, then yeah, go ahead and watch. And
That's
So
the
we have to
issue,
hope for.
is being open to the issue of change. I named this book one of my top books of first half of the year because it was so timely. Because
Oh, it's so good.
current events, right?
And I hate Superman, and I loved it.
I knew you would.
Come on.
If I have to read some book about a cat backwards, that's translated from Japanese,
Cat to the Louvre.
you need to read more Superman. I make a lot of sacrifices for you, Kristan.
I don't believe that. You enjoy every minute of it, and then you just complain about it later and say you can't read backwards. But you've read backwards so much.
I know, and it's hard.
You're a Zatanna fan.
And I had a guy say racism isn't, because I must have said racism is still thriving. That's why this book is timely. I mean, I love this book. And to Dino's point, a lot of people aren't open to discussion. This guy just said racism isn't thriving. It's the mainstream media that makes it seem that racism isn't thriving.
Yeah, okay.
okay, buddy.
I know.
Okay.
I said, I told him he wasn't allowed to watch my channel anymore, and he should fuck off. So, and then he tried to engage me in conversation, and I was like, I'm not even getting paid for this, so why am I doing this?
We've got a super chat for one of my favorite people.
Oh, Nash Villains.
That's my boy.
All right.
Boy.
Yeah. Thanks for this discussion and braving the onslaught of opinions from knuckleheads. Cancel culture, wear a mask, F Trump, happy Akira Day.
Oh, Akira.
Nash Films, I love you.
Awesome.
We have somehow not met in real life, despite having a lot of, common friends.
He has been in this room, Nash Villains.
Really?
Yeah, he and I went to lunch one day.
He's
Cool.
good people. He's cute too, ladies. So if there's any ladies in the chat, which is not likely. He's cute and single. You gotta hit him up. Just saying. I'm helping you out, Nash Films. I'm your wing woman.
Yeah, that was my point. Just cursing is more shocking than Captain America cursing. That is funny. You should see when I'm playing a video game with my daughter. We are tossing the controllers and the F-bomb is flying. So
You sound like my wife.
and this is just Animal Crossing.
That's gonna be me tomorrow with Ghost of Tsushima.
She was
Ooh.
raging at Grand Theft Auto Vice City, and I was trying to do something with my camera, and I just hear her scream at the top of her lungs, and I'm like, oh my god.
I do a lot of scream, if I'm playing a scary game and I get stuck in a point, I yell, I pause the game, I throw the controller down, I have to run to the other side of the house and then run back. Tavon, I don't mean tonight, because mine's arriving tomorrow from Best Buy. I don't have it yet.
Um,
I'm so excited about Ghost of Tsushima. Why am I working tomorrow?
have you talked about that game, Gio?
Which one?
The one Maddie's talking about, Ghost of Tsushima?
I don't think I've mentioned anything. It's coming out tomorrow, right? With
Maybe Lou has talked about it because it sounds familiar to me.
that's the samurai game that we were gushing over. At the
open world. It looks beautiful.
Jess, you get it. You're gonna
You would
get
like it.
Yeah.
You and your dog are playing together.
He's too impressionable.
Elliot says he can confirm he is my husband. He sees this happen.
I can confirm it, dog.
Well, I know that Cavill didn't date a 13-year-old girl, but wasn't she like 13? He was in his 30s. I mean, I get that it's legal. Doesn't mean it's not creepy.
That's right.
I'm just
Oh
saying.
man.
Now, at that age, did I fantasize about that because I grew up on manga and anime and didn't know what was weird and what wasn't? Yes. Because all the shoujo manga I read was like, high school girl moves in with her teacher, then they fall in love. And I was like, oh my god, yeah, it's great. And as an adult, I'm like, fuck, girl, no. You're getting close to a Woody Allen situation you did not want to be in.
Yeah, GTO is doing well on my shelf.
Man, I rewatched that recently, though, and I was like, okay, so he's creepy, but he never actually does anything. And so I don't know, I probably shouldn't. But
It's like the beginning, his ambitions, I guess, are where I'm like, oh no.
Because I'm like, okay, he's fake. He's just faking it. I'm like, okay, it's like a Trigun situation, right? Where it's Sebastian Stampede and he acts goofy and like, and horny and creepy, but he's not like that. Yeah.
I feel ya.
There's
like
four.
GTO.
There's 4 people in this on this show right now that can answer this question. I cannot, but the other 4 people can.
I never got into
You guys
Hellsing.
recommend Hellsing.
Haven't read it.
Mine.
Contrary.
I'm gonna get
Ryley,
the
go.
deluxe though because it's pretty.
I recommend it. I think that Alex puts it really concisely. If vampires fighting against Nazi ghouls and werewolves sounds like a good time to you with really artwork, then go for it. If you have a subscription to, I know Hulu, and maybe Gio can tell me if it's on like Crunchyroll, I would recommend checking out the Hellsing Ultimate anime because it's a 1-for-1 adaptation of the series. Each episode is 1 volume, so you can watch that and then gauge whether or not you're interested. That'd be my best recommendation.
Yeah, let me check because I think it's on Funimation, but I think Hulu still has it. Give me a second.
Should be
so
Hulu, yeah.
Kristen Ray in the chat
Yeah.
says that Cardcaptor Sakura is pretty iffy, and I thought about you.
Where my head immediately went when you started talking about that. Yeah, I read that first volume quite recently, and I was like, "Yikes,
That's
y'all!"
one of those
No.
instances. I treat older manga the same way I do treat older comics, where I go in there like, okay, this is of the time. Same with like older movies, right? We talked about like older comics, and they'll say some words. I'm like, whoa, or they'll draw women in a way. I'm like, but I'm like, okay, it's of the time. This was a different time. This is how I'm going to go into that. It's like when I go back and look at Sailor Moon, I'm like, man, I had no idea that it was how it was because I grew up with it. You don't realize that, right? And now you're like, oh, they were all 14. Shit.
Well, when you're growing up and 14's older than you or contemporary to you, it doesn't really, like looking back at, for instance, Bleach, and Ichigo is 15 in that series. I viewed him as like a grown man the whole time.
Yeah, same. Or like the girls in Final Fantasy X too. I've seen bunch of lewd art and like doujin about those girls. They're all 14. I did not know that until I was an adult. I was like,
I had no idea they
Wow.
were 14. Wow.
I did not know that.
yeah, Riku's 14.
Ugh.
Oh,
Japan has
You guys are
some
all
problems.
yeah.
Says Jess.
Yeah, I'm reading like Superman smashes the plane.
Right, that's
not all
stealing
you
the
read.
content you read, sure.
14-year-old girls.
I can't say anything. There's a lot of
Nope.
sunstone prints in the next room.
Do you have a print?
I have a ton. Well, Thomas Judge, who watches the show,
Yeah.
sent me a bunch of prints.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
That's way cool. Okay, and the big news is, of course, We got Terry Moore's book yesterday.
Yeah, we made it.
We all did it.
We were on that. We were refreshing that page for an hour and a half. Me, Kristan, Jess, Omar, all of us just praying. The site broke down.
Yeah, it was a mess.
Poor Terry Moore and his wife are trying so hard to get it fixed. Oh man. We did
every week on IST has prepared you guys for this.
Yeah.
It's true.
But I mean, it was the most frustrating book order I think I've ever done. I've had that happen with concert tickets, but I've never had a book ordered. I thought for sure it was going to get yanked out of my cart, that somebody else was going to get it.
I know, I was so worried.
I know.
But how many books did they have on the website?
600.
600. Wow.
But this was so there's going to be other versions of it, but this one, it was like it's a special cover. It's a hardcover. He signs it, and he includes a print inside as well.
Of a 14-year-old girl.
No. Don't say that about
Don't bring him
Terry.
into this.
Terry would never. His wife would get in the way. She runs his business.
Bringing things back around, I don't think we really addressed on that topic for the video today. What's the consensus of what do you want to see in the industry going forward to kind of get to a better point? And I mentioned about the HR stuff. We both did, Maddie, and but other ideas, things, and also as it was brought up, the idea of creators who have had these allegations and who, whether have been proven guilty or not, what do you expect from them in an apology or their actions? Because it was mentioned by y'all that it's important to see them present change. Is there anyone that you've seen who has changed? And if not, just what would you want to see from someone who does change?
So most importantly, I feel like there needs to be change in all of the publishers at an administrative level, of course, to where there's more policies put in place that also keep in mind their freelancers as well as their full-time employees that really help prevent that. I don't know exactly what that would need to look like. But also, I think the biggest change, it comes from this boys club mentality. I think if we want to see real change in here, we need those with that privilege in the industry to be vocal, to speak out when they hear that kind of stuff. And that comes at a lot of levels. It comes from being supportive and believe people and also calling people out on their bullshit. And not just like very obvious harassment, but also little things too. Because, you know, the more you laugh at like a shitty sexist joke, it builds confidence in a person.
Right.
They think, oh, you agree with me. Let me just keep building on this. And it has far-reaching consequences, not just on how you treat women as sexual objects, but just how you treat women in general that you work with. Because if they treat women like that, imagine how they treat women professionally. Not all of them, right? But to me, you really need like a conscious change by everyone, especially your top creators. And I'm not trained to tell you how to do that. But from my ignorant, naive view of it, of how it, like, that's what I would want to happen. I shouldn't say ignorant. I'm an educated woman. My naive as far as how that part of the industry works. That's how I would like to see. That's what I would recommend if I was recommending that in my own industry that I work in.
Okay.
Kristan.
Awesome.
I agree with all of that. What was the other part of the question? Well, changing the behavior, right?
Yes.
Oh yeah, and then what do we expect from them? I dropped that.
I think that depends on what was done, right? So the Scott at Dark Horse thing, that dude can't come back. Get him out of the industry, right?
Fuck that dude.
Wait, who?
Scott
In fact,
Alley.
he committed a crime, so
Scott
he needs
Alley.
to really...
He literally tried to... he almost sexually assaulted that woman in the back of a cab with other comic book creators. Reached his hand in her skirt. There was other comic creators in that car.
Wait, who's this?
Scott Alley of Dark Horse.
Dark Horse.
Oh, this is the guy that Mignola was working with?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That everyone knew about?
And of that, that made me
I got a question
upset.
about that.
Real quick, like,
Go ahead.
that made me really upset whenever Mignola came out, because, and this is just my opinion, and people can disagree, that's fine, but when he said something, my first reaction was, A, there's been stuff said about Scott Alley before. It's not all just been hush-hush, so he knew. And then B, he comes out not even really mentioning that he's known about these things for 30 years.
Yeah.
Like, because I think they said from the 90s. Is one thing
because somebody that worked with him on those books as well said, no, I told Mignola 10 years ago about Scott. He just went, oh, that's strange.
So it's, I felt like his tweet that came out as a reaction, like kind of someone said something and then Mignola comes out and says, I'm not working with him anymore. Okay, so now you're doing that? And it made me really upset. And that's another, like, Mignola himself, I think actually someone did say something about him, but Mignola himself, there's not an allegation that we're talking about from him, but just the fact that he was so complicit and silent for decades about someone that he was so close with and worked with makes me so just disgusted and angry, because that's the type of thing that's allowing for this to continue to happen and not change. Is that people who, Ali has his own position of power and Mignola has his position of power, in that he's a public voice, and he had the ability for so long to say something, and he didn't. Yeah. So, Jess, you can talk, but I was really angry by that.
Yeah, that's a major part of the problem, and I think he only came out after Dark Horse released the statement. Right. And it was right after. So it's like, oh, you guys are just in the background. Someone said avoiding a lawsuit, kind of, right?
I mean, yeah.
Because you wish you said something a long time ago.
Yeah, I want them all to be scared and call out people and get ahead of it and have that voice nag in their head like, oh, shit. I shouldn't say that because I'll get it. Yeah, I mean, he obviously just came out and said it because...
Exactly.
I mean, I'm glad that he did.
Yeah. It's good that he did, but it makes me angry that it took this long, and it took, like y'all said, the statement from Dark Horse for him to finally speak up himself. And it just seems very empty in that way.
And I feel like it stains Mignola. To me, it's a big, huge stain on Mignola that he was complicit in this. Absolutely. I'm furious at him for that. And I have everything he's ever done, and it just makes me so angry. And it's not like he was caught shoplifting. And I mean, this being a co-conspirator in this guy's dark, twisted actions. I mean, these are real people that are getting hurt, and it just really pisses me off. What you said, Ryley, is exactly what I wanted to say, and I'm kind of pissed because you said it better than I would have. So
it was very good.
And
yeah,
it
was.
Jess also, and I say your name because it's something that you can relate to, but everything he did, they wanted to blame it on alcoholism. And only that. And that, I think...
Oh, he was trying to hide behind it?
Yeah, he was using the... And I'm not saying he's not an alcoholic, but he was hiding behind his alcoholism. That's like anyone with a mental illness. That's like me hiding behind my depression for anything that I do that's wrong. Mm-hmm. It's just not right. No. And that was the defense that was used even by Mignola. And I understand by people around him, you're told he does this because of this. And then you're like, oh, okay. And you believe it. But how long do you believe that before you realize that's just bullshit?
Well, as a alcoholic in recovery, I will tell you it's even worse when someone tries to hide behind their alcoholism or blame their problems on it, because it means they aren't doing anything to try and make themselves a better person and heal and get better. He is way more dangerous as somebody that's trying to hide behind his alcoholism. You need to rip that Band-Aid off, get it in the sunlight, because it's never going to heal without being pushed into the sun. And when you keep it in the dark like that, I mean, he is 10 times worse. Trying to blame it on that, you're trying to get better. You're trying to treat other people better. You're trying to think about yourself less. You want to be a better person. Speaking for myself, I want to be a better person, and to blame it on alcohol that's a schoolyard bully thing. That's like an 8-year-old would try and do that without admitting, I have the problem. That makes me even madder that he's trying to blame alcohol.
It's just sidestepping and pushing the blame onto something else to try and pretend that it was something that was not in your control when it is.
Absolutely. Now I really hate that guy. I'm definitely punching him next time I see him.
You did make a good point earlier that these are real people. I think that's what people forget because they get they hear about something happen, like with Warren Ellis, and they're like, oh, but shit, I love that author, right? Or they think, well, I separate the book from the author or whatever. But they forget that there's real people, there's real female people in the industry that are involved. And people also remember that if this is this is a business, it is, but like in a regular business in a company, if you do these things, if you say these things, right, you are fired. You're fired. Especially if it's multiple women. You get fired. As long as it's a healthy company, you get fired, right? Yeah. And it should be the same. I think people forget that. They're like, but this and this, like, I get it.
Because they call it cancel culture.
It's not
yet. It's like what Jess was saying, it's a buzzword. That it's something a person slaps a label on it because it almost labels like that almost invalidate something. Yeah. And that's why they do it. And instead of allowing for people to view it as, like you said, someone getting fired for doing something wrong at their job, they look at it as just, oh, they're just trying to cancel this guy. No. You go to work and you shove your hand down someone's crotch. No. You're going to get beyond fired.
Mm-hmm. Well, and like the trauma that these people have to go through. What's going to make you want to write comic books? What's going to make you create content? Why would you? If you have to be in there and deal with a person that's like that. Real quick, Man 40 has another good question.
At 9:25? I don't want.
Yeah. Happy to help. So multiversitycomics.com has been one of my resources because they have a timeline of allegations and names. If you look up a timeline of recent allegations in the comic book industry on Multiversity Comics, they are updating it as things are happening.
Oh, wow.
So it's been a great resource. They don't say anything. They're just listing the facts and what's come out or whatever's happened. So it's a nice, quick, and easy way to look through and just see. Because I didn't know everyone, obviously. That's a lot to keep up with. But I know that I can use that as a resource. And it's not like bleeding cool, which sucks.
Yeah.
We all agree on that.
Yeah.
Maddie, I also, you mentioned something earlier about the women whose names we see that we don't recognize. And that's something that I had thought about. Because I think that, and my point in bringing this up is that a lot of the people who are reading these allegations and the people who might sit there and talk about like, well, we don't want to assume the worst and we don't want to believe everything because it might not be true. They're looking at these names that they don't know against a name that they do know. And I think that that's something that's happening, and they're not considering exactly what you said, that these are not just random people. These are people who did try to put their foot in the door. These are people who, the reason they had these connections with Ellis, with any of the other creators that these allegations have come out about, is because they were, as we mentioned, trying to get into the industry. And now we've seen, I think, at least a couple of names that are known. I know Kate Leth, I think, came out and said something.
Yeah.
And there was at least one other. And
the one there's a woman who comes to name so like Alex DeCampi and Tess Fowler.
Yes,
so I follow both of them, especially Tess.
Yes, I was trying to think of Tess Fowler's name. They came forward, and I think that when people who are recognized in the industry, and you're like, that number one, that gives you that opinion of like, oh my gosh, like they continue to deal with it. These other people, they dropped out. How much did these people have to deal with that got through? But it's also unfortunate but true that now that they have names that are recognized, people are going to listen. And they're creating a better platform for the people who need to come out, want to come out, or even want to anonymously speak on it because they don't feel safe. But it's unfortunate that the reason it's unfortunate is that a lot of people out there in the internets don't want to listen to someone whose name they don't recognize, which is the majority of these women.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I just, it's painful to think of the level, think of one instance that has happened to you that made you feel bad about yourself at somebody else's hand. And sort of crank it up a few levels.
A lot of things. Not to be the person that's like, well, I'm a woman, so of course. But unfortunately, it's like, yeah, but I'm a woman, so of course.
Yeah, well, exactly.
A woman who would work with Japanese industries, so.
Right.
Definitely.
That's where I'm going with this, is that I think that people need to remember that we're dealing with other people, and other people, everybody's fragile in their own way, and to be multiply traumatized is a horrible thing to happen to somebody, to have them stop pursuing their dream of being in the comics industry. That's just one facet. That's the most obvious one. But the baggage they have to carry for the rest of their lives because of this other guy, whoever he is just, it's heartbreaking.
I've got a couple of chat things to address really quick. So first, 928 T2 comic books.
Johnny Depp?
Yeah. I will say that is one of the saddest things that could have happened. And it's hard, right? Because it's hard for the movement too, when there are people who has like false allegations. Because Johnny was one of those. He had his wife Amber falsely accused him of being abusive when we learned that she is the abusive one, right? And I understand, and it's hard. That's what makes this subject so difficult, right? Well, because there are exceptions. That's true, which is why I'm such support of him, because he was abused and he's a victim, and that's why I say it can happen to men and women.
But make sure that you don't use. I'm not saying you, Maddie, but I'm saying just people in general. Don't use this one thing to try and discredit everything else that's happened to women. I mean, this is a 1 in 1,000 type of case. Definitely support Johnny Depp, but don't think that all women are like Amber Heard. That's just not. Don't make this thing the standard that you're going to judge everything else. This is an outlier. It's bad. I'm sorry it happened, but it's an outlier.
I mean, he's gone on to say that's why evidence is important, and I get that. Absolutely. I do want to remind people here in the chat as well that if you go through these allegations, one, a lot of it's multiple women. Okay? So it's not like one woman was like, hey, I'm going to lie about this and do this thing. I will also add that evidence is difficult, too. And often not believable, because unless somebody's there to see it happen, with what happened to that woman when Scott Alley assaulted her in that cab, he knows he did it, she knows he did it, everybody else in that car, you know, it's not it's difficult. I get it.
Yeah, a lot of these things are hard to prove, and I will say about Ellis specifically, he didn't deny any of it, if I recall his apology accurately.
And
Freddie Alonso.
Freddie.
Oh, Freddie.
Freddie. Stop. There's certain people I just really love. I gotta always throw it out there. And also Joe Chip had said something too about he doesn't like the lynch mob mentality. And I understand that as well.
I get that. Where is
I
that?
will say, and it's hard to see that. It's difficult because it does feel like there was nothing, and all of a sudden there's just so much anti-sentiment on these people. I do want to remind, right, that in a lot of these cases, a lot of people were very well aware of what was happening, and nothing was being done, right? And the only option was to do it with this way. And it's also difficult too because a lot of accusers are seen as guilty. They're the ones seen as guilty until proven innocent.
Yeah.
Right? A lot of people, and it's proven with a lot of sexual assault cases. There's a reason why a lot of them aren't even tested or believed, and it's a very complicated problem. It's hard to even get it into.
Yeah.
But if you look at historical data, even crime shows and everything else, right? Women will come out to say, "Hey, I was assaulted," and a lot of times they're met with, "Were you drunk? What did you say to him?
What were you wearing?"
And I'm not trying to like generalize it, but I will say that there's multiple women here who were harassed, right? There's screen caps, there's people who have seen it. There were literally policies put in place at some of these places like Dark Horse or like staff members at DC that knew, right? So I understand, but it's difficult because it's not, and these aren't all arrestable offenses either.
Yeah, that's why the lynch mob mentality, that's not really the right analogy for this. It's no one's getting strung up and lynched. There's no presumption of innocence getting thrown out the window because these are things that are coming out on Twitter with dozens and dozens of women, and we're only talking about the guys that have apologized, or so many women have come up against them that they're obviously a bad actor.
Yeah, that's why I want to say there's a difference, because we're talking about cancel culture, right? There's a difference between sexual assault allegations or sexual harassment allegations and cancel culture of somebody who made some off-color jokes 8 years ago, right?
Yeah.
There's a big difference.
Yeah.
I will agree there is a mob mentality on some things that aren't appropriate. This is different.
I think that also regarding the idea of innocent until proven guilty, why you have to, the people who say that have to consider why are they even saying that in the first place, is because you care about the person who's being accused. But if you remove that name from it and just know 60 women were accusing one person, a person, of sexual harassment and presented all of this evidence, you're going to probably agree that, yeah, that's a really extremely strong case. But it's the fact that it's not just a well-known comic writer, but one of the most well-known comic writers in the industry right now, and for years before, it's that his name is attached to it, that you care about that person in particular.
Real quick, there's a comment I need to address. Kristan, would you like to address it, or would you like me to address it?
Where is it?
I just don't even know what to say.
936 T2. I'm trying to be very calm about this.
Oh.
We were having a private conversation about it.
The college one?
Yes.
Yeah, I didn't want to give this.
Okay.
But if you want
a woman or a man mid-sexual intercourse can change their mind. And if they say no, or they change their mind and that person continues, that is rape. Full stop. That is rape. I can be super into it. I can invite a man or woman into my bed, right? And then halfway through, I'm like, oh, no, actually, I can't do this. For whatever reason, I don't even have to tell you. And if I say no, and you continue after I tell you no, that is rape. That is a crime. And they should get kicked out of college if they knowingly do that. Can it be difficult for some people to understand? Yes, which is why we have conversations telling people about consent so we can learn and all get better, because both men and women can do it. And you probably mean very well. Yeah, it can be the day after. Boy, I'm doing my best to be calm and talk to everybody, but I can't with this. I can't.
Yeah.
I can't.
Yeah, I didn't want to.
I wasn't going to let it just sit there.
Okay.
I'm sure you mean well, sir, but you need to watch some videos or something.
But it's important to have that dialogue right there.
She changed her mind the day after. That sounds like more complicated process, and I don't think that is associated with what this is right now. That's something that can be addressed to a different group of people.
Yeah. I don't see that matching up with what we're talking about.
Ellie, if you're still in the chat, will you refill my water bottle? Oh. Somebody said I'm Barry Allen when I type. It's hard too because I have this new keyboard. It's right near my mic, and so it's loud as hell. So it's just maybe like texting Kristan. Ooh. I can't. Some of y'all for real. Whew. What else is up? What's new? By the way, just because I laugh a lot during uncomfortable topics does not mean I do not consider them to be very serious. It is a coping mechanism.
Right. I agree with that.
Just so everyone knows.
I have the same coping mechanism.
So I don't know about anyone else, but and Jess and Gio have probably seen me say this, but I've at this point I think Ellis broke me. Like when the news came out about Ellis, that was like the one that just destroyed me. And I know it destroyed Fariha as well. She is devastated. And I just now consider that it's just a matter of time before any person is outed.
I mean, we already saw, there's been one thing about Jeff Johns, but we haven't heard anything else.
Right.
And so right now I use that as an example of, see, I don't jump on everyone. I don't have enough information.
Right.
Right. So people be like, this SJW bitch about to cancel anybody. No. But yeah, I mean, that's the thing. People have to understand that even if somebody's nice, that can happen. Right. That's why it's hard for me to talk to people like, but this person's so nice at a con. My abuser is very nice. Especially at cons.
It's really, I think it was either yesterday or earlier today, and it was shared in one of our chats, a link about, was it NBC doing their own line, and Morrison was going to be working on it, and all I see is a news article with Morrison's picture on it, and I was like, fuck! Just like, I sinking into my chair, and then I looked again, I was like, oh, thank God we're still safe.
Oh, I know.
Thank you, Grant. Still safe. But I'm not, like, my mentality on it.
It's a sad joke, right, too?
It is.
I only joke about it because it's so sad.
It's very sad because at the end of the day, like, even... It's a very real possibility because it's something that is so capable of being true that I'm going to wake up tomorrow and someone's going to have sent me something that says one of my favorite writers, whether it be Grant Morrison or someone else, Eiichiro Oda or something like that, is guilty of something or is accused of something really heinous. Yeah. And I have to, like, when the stuff about Ellis came out, I was not only thinking about, oh my God, like, how do I deal with my opinions on this? And it's something I'm still trying to deal with. But it was like, if this is happening with someone like that, like, how am I going to deal with it when it starts happening with even more people that are at that have that level of respect from me for their works, that have that level of adoration from me for their work? And it just really, like, I'm shaking right now, like, thinking about the possibilities of things that can come out. It's like you said, it doesn't matter if someone's nice. It doesn't matter, Morrison can have been the coolest guy in the world. And in my opinion, he is. I freaking love that guy. But as soon as someone... What?
Nothing.
Nothing.
I just translated what you said. It took me like 3 seconds to finally hear it in my head. Maybe I would if I could. But yeah, it's just really hard to consider the possibility.
Yeah,
I get the chat.
I said this on one of the shows Jess and I did, but when we were talking about Ellis, because he's having the Ellis feelings, and I'm like, yeah, tomorrow Jeff Lemire, something happens with him, I'm gonna be devastated. We all have these people, right? That's just gonna like break us.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's scary.
It's just
Maddie knows.
It's unfair.
I love
it's
my garbage book.
It's so unfair, and I think that just it makes me angry. I don't know. I don't want to continue. I'm going to make myself feel even worse about things that don't exist. So
yeah, we can't do that.
I'll stop because there's already enough things that do exist that I feel bad about.
True.
Well, it's I need to remind everybody that it's good that we're talking about it. I know it's hard, but by talking about it, by making it known, by showing support, and by educating people, it can lead to change. It feels small, right? It doesn't feel possible. But it does change. I mean, think about people I think people have talked to on this just on YouTube that didn't know. And there's a lot of people in the group
like
that didn't know.
Just didn't know a lot.
That's right.
And I'm so thankful that I've learned, that my friends have learned about this, and that we can talk about it. And there's a even though there are some negative voices, there is a huge culture of support for these victims, and I'm so appreciative of that, because it would not have been that way even 5 years ago, right?
Yeah.
I'm so thankful for all the people that have come out and support, all the creators who've come out and support, because a lot of the big names are too. I think people have to remind themselves too when they're like, well, fuck these guys for saying this. Tell that to Snyder. Tell that to the other big creators that are like, nah, fuck these dudes. We're not talking to them anymore. Okay, y'all, you guys stop bringing up the whole Hitler wrote a book and we still read it. He's dead. My dude, he's dead.
Can we also address the person in the chat who said, I guess I'm just surprised at how many adults look at people they don't know personally as role models. We just, like we said earlier,
we just want the industry to employ sexual harassers.
Just common decency. These are not our role models.
Yeah, these aren't role models. No.
That's all we're asking for.
My role model is
T2, I didn't say that I thought you'd be okay with rape. I just, the comment, I appreciate when you expounded on it. Just the initial comment did not say the day after. Okay? I promise I wasn't attacking you. I appreciate you expanding on it, because the comment by itself was telling me a different story. I apologize for jumping on you. We're going to have to work on rewriting how we write some questions in here.
Well, I want to say it's been an amazing honor tonight with you guys, but I do have to go. This has gone on for...
Oh, yeah, shit. It's been an hour and 40 minutes.
It's been a bit.
Yeah.
Let me tell you about a place. We can get you
Perfect.
conditions up to
Beautiful segue.
Loyalty discount add 2% to that. Rumors of an OmniBroslive code for special discounts are floating. Maybe it'll happen. At the end of every month, we're lucky enough to get a gift card from IST and Stock Trades for $50 to give away to a lucky fan that's watching. If you live in the United States and you order $50 worth of books, you get free shipping. That's a crazy, great deal. They have the most wonderful customer service, the greatest packaging. That's at stocktrades.com. Thank you. And Ryley, where can they find you when you're here idolizing me?
Of course, my idol, my mentor, Just Bragg right there. My channel is the Omnibus Collector. You can find me on there. I'm trying to do some good work over there.
Yay! Watch his stuff.
Thank you. I'm very happy to have finally been able to do a video with you ladies. This is really awesome.
Thanks, Mary. We love you. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just praising you guys. I'm very happy to have finally done a video with you guys. I haven't done one yet. And I really want to make sure we do this again. Hopefully not just on serious topics, because I think we can have a little more fun. But yeah, before I went, I just wanted to gush about that. But thank you, as always, Jess, for letting me hang with you, and Gio for being cool. Maddie and Kristan, I will see y'all around. Peace out.
Right on, man.
Have a good night.
Bye.
Good night.
And Gio, where can they find you?
You can find me on my channel where I talk about anime, comics, manga, all that fun stuff. And I'm sorry if I was a little bit too quiet. I was just listening to you guys because I don't know much. I was just learning. And I agree 100% with everything that was said today.
Learning is part of the conversation, you know?
Yeah. And my channel, right. Subscribe if you can for videos and stuff. So, yeah, A Week in Geekdom. Name's right there.
Here's the most important comment of the night, of course. People need to be like Jess, wholesome and a fan of Harley Quinn. Thank you.
All those nice fangirls comments, you just went right on by to that one about you. I see how it is.
I told him. Kristan and I will be on this Saturday.
Yeah.
For the Omnidog and OmniCat comic book review show on Saturday. Where else can they find you, Kristan?
Actually, Maddie and I tomorrow.
Oh yeah, we're gonna be on at lunch. Surprise!
Yeah, we're having a lunchtime show on this channel tomorrow at noon
manga.
Eastern, talking about manga. Your favorite thing, Jess.
Talking about manga.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
The manga girls.
We're reviewing Rose of Versailles Volume 1, which I still don't have, so I'll have to read it legally online.
Don't say that.
My ISD order's coming in.
Yeah, you bought it. It's fine.
I bought it. No Longer Human and Spy Family. And you guys are lucky I didn't say Rose of Versailles, because I do live in Kentucky, and we call Versailles Versailles.
Yeah, that's true.
That's an interesting trio of books. Huh.
Yeah, it was weird. It's weird to read together.
Comedy, romance, drama, a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you can find me. And Maddie, you do your own channel too, right?
I'm on Near Mint Condition.
But don't you also have like a Maddie channel?
No.
You do your own. Oh, you don't do your own reviews and stuff? I
No.
thought you were striking out on your own to.
No, not yet.
There is a Kristan channel coming, though.
That's right.
It's happening.
Nice.
Thank you, Justin Page.
Thank you, Justin.
Appreciate that.
Peace and love.
That's right. You can find me, Omnidog. Tomorrow, I will be doing a live crime corner with my buddy Taylor Brown. Saturday, I will be doing with my good friend Kristan. We'll be doing a review show, and
Man, that Kristen's really cool. You're lucky she's on your channel. She's hard to get.
I am.
You know.
I am lucky.
I don't have hair to flip. This is kind of flippy.
And you can find me Omnidog's Vault on YouTube and Omnidogs_Vault on Instagram. Thank you.
Busy weekend.
What happened?
You got a busy weekend.
I do, yeah.
I don't. Sorry, go ahead.
Thank you to the fans. Thank you. For the topic, I thought that was a pretty respectful group of people that we had. It could have gone sour really quickly, but it didn't, and that's because we have good fans. And we had two great women in the chat with us, the Fangirlz. Thank you for being on the show tonight. It really drove the conversation. It was really interesting. And I learn more every day. Just by listening, I learn more every day. I by the time I die, I'm going to be the smartest person in the world.
Thanks for having us.
And thank you to InStock Trades for sponsoring us.
Yeah. Thank you, Emily.
Yeah, you bet. Wait. Last just question. Any Q&A videos upcoming? You used to do a lot of them. Oh, well, okay. And Man 40, I'll do another Q&A video. Those are always fun.
We should do one together.
You and me?
Yeah, that'd be fun.
Q and gay. Wasn't gay enough. Kristan.
Wasn't gay enough.
Wait, we have a super chat before we're done by Nash Villains.
Ooh.
Love to all. Thank you for this. Omnifans over Omnibros.
OmniFans. Oh, okay.
Controversy.
I'm stepping back from that one.
He starts a beef with Gabe in the chat.
Thank you for the super chat, though. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Nash Villains.
Thank you.
I love you.
Thank you very much. So that would be good, Kristan. Maybe we can do it Saturday. We can make it part of the show. We can just do the books. Although we do have an awful lot of books
that I haven't read all of, so I'm working on it.
Maybe we drop a book, and that'll give us time for Q&A. You and I will talk.
Yeah, we'll talk. We'll talk.
Okay, everybody. Thanks so much for tuning in. We love you all. We love you all. We love you all. And peace and love. Peace and love. Good night, everybody.